Hello and welcome back to the channel. Wow, your thoughts on the previous chase card prediction video have been awesome. I really appreciate it. And that leads me, of course, to the next topic that's been on my mind about this set, and that is the possible box topper in Streets of New Capenna. We know we're getting one, so what will it be? Is it more likely that it's some sort of IP crossover like Ikoria or Crimson Vow? Is it a curated list of cards like Expeditions were in Zendikar Rising? We've speculated on these chase cards that might potentially seed the collector packs, so let's look at some of these ideas for the box topper, and maybe even mock up what a couple might look like. But first, if you like videos like this and you'd like to follow along, subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, leave a comment. It really does go a long way. So what if Wizards were to tie in another IP, do a crossover? The problem, I think, in imagining this is that there isn't something that really comes to mind right away. I think that's it. It's not that everything needs to be so on the nose. It's that if something doesn't feel obvious, it might be a little risky. We can speculate on IPs, forever until Wizards says, we're not doing these anymore. They're too much trouble. I think here, there's nothing that really jumps out at me. There are a lot of low-hanging fruit and sort of easy ideas we could pick up on, but I don't think that they have the mass appeal that they really need to have in order to move boxes or really excite players. One idea that does come to mind, though, and also has mass appeal, that's maybe something like Batman. I know that's a bit of a stretch, and if it were to come to that, here's maybe what I think you might get. You could say there's kind of a noir-inspired just take on simple art, straightforward from Batman, just like we saw in Ikoria. They were pretty straightforward depictions of the Godzilla universe in the style of magic, just, our kind of nice photorealistic fantasy art aesthetic. Maybe you've got a few of those that show up from Batman. So what do you think? Is this entirely too easy? I think it is. I think it's a bit of a low-hanging fruit here, but do you think that it would be smarter for Wizards to pick something with broad enough appeal? Or do you think it's cooler if they maybe go with something that's less wider known, but is therefore exciting to more people because it's newer to them? I would love to know what you think. Will the box topper be some sort of showcase frame? This is what honestly seems a little more likely to me than an IP crossover right now. Those IP crossovers are probably best left as secret layers, maybe? I don't know. Does that exclude too many people from being able to get them? I think it might. I mean, those are pretty expensive. But if they avoided that entirely and went with a more showcase-oriented box topper, I have a feeling that Wizards might lean into the noir and the Art Deco theme a bit here. And we've seen kind of what they could do with something like that. Like it or not, the singles coming out of Innistrad double feature, womp womp, are sought after. Like they're I think that they're desired as sort of one-ofs or special printings of cards that are important to people, or maybe a really good look for a commander, just something different. The initial rush of seeing how different the booster pack experience is pretty cool. But, after opening a few, it does get pretty underwhelming as you go along. However, I think the silver screen treatment as a box topper in Crimson Vow would have been very cool. I could have seen that in lieu of maybe the Dracula tie-in. So that's why I think we could see a simple style treatment on a list of key cards from the set, maybe 18 or so like Ikoria or Crimson Vow. Here are just a couple of really quick iterations. Maybe they're borderless and they're like silver tin type or sort of, black and white photograph noir color palette, and they're foiled out. These are just obviously the only preview pieces of art we've had so far for the lands, but I think it could be something like that, something simple. Maybe there's sort of a noir-ish treatment, really high contrast version of cards from the set, and you get them in just a more of a premium look. So lastly, what about like a curated list of cards, kind of like Zendikar Expeditions? We haven't really had anything quite like that outside of the Zendikar sets yet. We had Kaladesh Masterpieces, and we had Invocations in Amonkhet. Both met, obviously, with wildly different levels of enthusiasm. What might a curated list of box toppers look like if they were, cards from throughout Magic and they were sort of relevant to the overall theme of the set, the way that lands are relevant to Zendikar? I don't know. I don't, should it be tied to the plane? Should it be more shard oriented? Because we know that the 3-color combinations and the shards are a pretty big part of this. If they're so specific to New Capenna and you can't sort of recycle the idea, is that bad? Is that good? The idea in Kaladesh and Amonkhet, those were pretty generic artifacts and spells. I mean, it's basically saying magic at that point, but those haven't resurfaced. We haven't said we're going to start doing masterpieces again in this set because it's relevant, etc. I don't think it's a problem if you said we're going to do, demons or legendaries as sort of alternative frames, leaders, something like that. I don't know. I think that anything's on the table, really. I don't think anything's off limits. And I think that probably is the route they're going to go. I don't see Wizards doing another IP for this, as I've said. I think that we're going to see something like that. I will refrain from speculating as to what that might look like because, like I say, I'm not an artist, but man, other people sure are. Take a look at these, for instance. These are some proxies made by the artist Comprea, and they are awesome. This is what obviously it looks like if you invest some serious time into card design. The reason I don't think, though, we might see something this elaborate and beautiful is that I think this treatment is, again, best served as a secret lair. I just feel like Wizards saves the really heavily invested graphic design for secret lairs, like masterpieces and invocations from back when. Those probably I could easily see those becoming a secret lair at the time and not have been put into packs. So just an interesting thing to think about. I think that these do a much better job of conveying something a little more stylish than I ever could. I do what I can to just maybe throw some ideas out there for sure. And, as we sit here and recount all of the chase cards and box toppers and Godzilla cards, Strixhaven Mystical Archive, Invocations, Masterpieces, Expeditions, you name it, it is a really cool time to be a collector of Magic cards. It's awesome. I think that we have been given a lot of variety in terms of what we can go seek out and look for. I do know that we are in the parallel era. There are 7 different iterations of a card. Here's the rare, here's the borderless, here's the extended art, here's the foil version of all of those. Here's one with a pre-release stamp on it. Here's one with a promo stamp on it. It's like there's 7 different versions of each rare. Sometimes it seems like in a set. That suppresses the value of the cards because there's so many different printings out there. I think that is okay when you're talking about getting access to game pieces for standard. We really don't need to get into that in this video. But what I do think that Wizards needs to do, if they are going to keep going that route, is offer something extra for people to collect. You've got to offer the high-end premium experience for folks. The collector booster route is great, as long as you're not just opening more versions of the same card and then all the cost of each of those copies is pretty much the same across the board. That's not doing much to add value to what you get, but adding Phyrexian text cards and at the very least, borderless planeswalkers is a good step. I do think Wizards needs to continue to do more. This is totally my opinion here. I would really love to know your opinion. Where are we going? I think that New Capenna is going to be a pretty good bellwether as to what is down the road for Magic and for collecting Magic in particular. So, what are your thoughts? I have rambled a bit. It's time for me to hear from you. Leave a comment down below. I have really, really enjoyed reading everybody's thoughts and ideas. There's a lot being discussed in the comments, and I tell you what, I'm diving right in to add my 2 cents every single time. I really appreciate it. Thanks so much for your support. It has grown and it has been really, really incredible. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing and following along with everyone as we move forward. Leave a like or a comment. It helps out more than you know. My wheels will really be turning until the next time we talk. So until then, take care.